Most men don't fail because they're lazy or undisciplined. They fail because they're lying to themselves about their own pain. And if you're successful on the outside, but stuck, frustrated, or disconnected on the inside, this video is for you. My name is Ryan James Miller, and today I'm exposing the 5 lies every single man believes about his wounds and why those lies are quietly ruining your success. So before I get to the 5 lies, let me dive in a little bit more to this problem that I see so many men dealing with. These are men that I coach. These are men that are in our community. These are men that I am friends with. Men were never taught how to process pain, only how to perform. You may have heard me say this before, but most men from a very young age, as little boys, they learn to stay strong, they learn to stay silent, they learn to stay moving. You know, this is like you fall off your bike, somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, quit crying, get up, get back at it." And there's good in that. The problem is when that is ingrained into us, we begin to operate in that way and can continue to do so for the rest of our lives. As teenagers, as young adults, as grown adults, we just continue to fight this battle over and over again. Strong, silent, and just moving. Just keep going and you'll get past it. But if you're anything like me, what you're going to realize is the pain doesn't disappear just because we ignore it. And as a matter of fact, it starts to leak. See, we think it's gone away. We think we've gotten far enough past it. But you can probably resonate with one or more of these things. Oftentimes we see leaks like short tempers, maybe emotional distance at home. You're just not really like into the whole feeling things when it comes to talking to your wife, or maybe even your kids. You are working way too much. And you may be saying to yourself, well, that's because of the season of life that I'm in. And it may very well be, but it could also be because you are trying to mask the hurt that you are feeling. This leaks into numbing behaviors. I find far too many men that after a long, stressful day come home and they need to blow off steam. And sometimes that's in very negatively impacting ways like drinking, smoking weed, taking a gummy, but other times it could be in working out. And that's such a challenge, right? Because it actually is good to work out. And sometimes it is wise to take the stresses of the day and release them before you step into the evening at home. But when you are doing things to numb the constant pain that you are feeling, you may not even recognize it as pain, but it's just this demon that's been haunting you forever. You say things like, if I can't do this, if I can't just get past this, then it happens a lot. I also see this with Christian men in ways that their faith always just kind of feels dry. It feels stagnant. It feels distant. I have a really good friend that was talking online the other day about the fact that, man, he was successful for so many years. And then this last year, he did not achieve the success that he had in past years. And as a matter of fact, he said he had earned less last year, 2025, than he had in any year since the beginning of his career. He's been in business a long time for himself. And he said that led to distance from God, or he felt a lot of distance from God and he felt disconnected. And I'm like, dude, those things are correlating. You use your success all those years to be more closely connected to God. You use your success all those years to feel more joy-filled. And there's nothing wrong with that until that becomes the mask. And until that's just numbing the need that you have to be closer to God. I have worked for so many and with so many high-performing men who look successful on paper, but they feel disconnected from who they know that God created them to be. So many different stories: broken marriages, broken relationships with their parents, usually particularly their dad, some deep sense of hurt, maybe a failed business, maybe like me, I had a huge financial hit, lost the house, different stories, but the same patterns. And I need you to hear this before I share these 5 lies, because I want you to hear out loud what you may have been feeling inside for a long time, these lies that you believe. But I need you to hear this. Until you name the lie, you will keep living the pattern. Let me just say that once again. Until you name the lie, you will continue living this pattern, and it will ultimately lead to your destruction. All right, lie number one. The first lie that I hear men say as it relates to this idea of their pain, their wounds, is this: time will heal this. That is crazy. Time creates more distance, but it definitely does not heal wounds. The wound is still there. It may be built up with scar tissue, but it's still there. Time doesn't heal wounds. Truth and ownership do. Avoidance does not solve your pain. All it does is preserve it. The longer you avoid it, the longer it will fester. And as a matter of fact, instead of making that wound smaller, it can actually cause it to spread and make it greater. I've seen so many men where years pass and nothing changes because nothing was addressed, even though at times externally their life looks better. Here are some practical ways in which if you believe this lie, if you're living this lie that time will heal your wounds, here are a couple of practical examples. The first one is your anger just shows up seemingly out of nowhere. You all of a sudden just like fly off the handle. You get frustrated with your spouse. You lose it on one of your kids and you're like, oh, well, that's just the stress of the day. No, that's not. That's a building, festering wound that has not been healed. Another thing I see is that you are very sharp, very edgy with your wife and your kids. You do not extend grace regularly, even though you want to. You often come across as more pessimistic, more negative. You live very melancholy. You just communicate in such a way that there is pain inside of you to those that love you the most and that you love the most. Another practical example that I see a lot with men that believe this lie that time will heal is you live with this constant pressure to prove yourself. I need you to know, unhealed pain does not expire. It compounds. Lie number two, real men don't talk about this. I hear so many men say that real men don't talk about the things that hurt them. Look, buddy, I need you to hear me loud and clear. Silence is not strength. At best, it's isolation. At worst, it's weakness. Isolation begins to breed distortion, and therefore we begin to believe the lies that we tell ourselves, and we don't have anyone objectively to speak into our lives that will help us out of it. When we are isolating our wounds, when we are isolating ourselves and our pain, we allow that darkness to spread the pain. What stays in the dark just grows louder. God designed men and women, but God designed men for brotherhood and women for sisterhood. God did not design men for self-reliance. In the garden, when God says that it is not good for man to be alone, that he is going to create a helper fit for him, yes, he was speaking about the sanctity of marriage, but he was also talking about the fact that he has created men to be in relationship with one another, to be in brotherhood. Scripture never celebrates men who walk alone. Scripture constantly elevates men who are walking in community and brotherhood with other men. This is one of the main reasons why we created the Men of Greatness community, is because I believe that healing accelerates in community. Growth happens when men are seen, challenged, and sharpened. This is what happened for me when I started to address my own wounds 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And it's what happens every single time I step into a room and I lead by example by opening up about the things that have and still continue to hurt me at times. And I watch men rise to the occasion and they begin to feel seen, to be challenged, and desire to sharpen themselves. Strong men don't hide their pain. They face it with other men who won't let them stay stuck. Lie number three, my past doesn't affect my present. I see this a lot. And the reality of the matter is if it is unhealed, it is still active. The past doesn't stay in the past. It shows up in reactions, in realities, in behavior. It is so obvious when I encounter men that are living with past hurt and struggle. Here are a couple of ways in which I see that happen that you may relate to. Overreacting to seemingly small things, shutting down during conflict. I see this happen a lot. Needing to control people or situations in order to feel safe, or just completely avoiding emotional conversations. Is that you with your wife? She wants to get into her feelings and you want to have nothing to do with it because that's awkward, uncomfortable, or that's just a woman's way of thinking. If you are struggling in this area with believing that your past doesn't affect your present, I want you to hear this. Your wounds, even the ones that you did and have repented from and tried to move on, your wounds are not your fault, but they are your responsibility. Because what you don't heal will repeat itself. And oftentimes, you will pass that along to your children. Lie number 4. If I ignore it, I can outwork it. This is oftentimes why I believe hustle culture is elevated to a place that it is because hustle is often a distraction, but it's never a solution. You see, people think that if I just work harder, that if I just get farther from it, if I just reshape myself, if I just earn a new way, if I just add a new title, if I just elevate myself to an additional level of status, that I will just put all those things in the past. But achievement doesn't equal alignment. I know a lot of men who are really productive, really successful, but they aren't peaceful. And it's because God does not ask for more striving. He asks for more surrender. He asks for more obedience. If work has become your refuge, if you go to work because that's the place that you feel most seen, known, heard, comfortable, I'm going to challenge you that something underneath that work likely still needs to be challenged. There needs to be attention given to something beyond that because you are not your work. You can outwork your schedule, but you cannot outwork your soul. Lie number 5. When it comes to undealt with, unaddressed wounds, healing will make me weak. Healing doesn't weaken men, it stabilizes them. Strength comes from integration, not separation. When we heal, you have to think about this from a physical aspect. You know, when you have a tear in your shoulder, just say, or maybe you have a tear in your knee, a ligament or a muscle or something like that. When it is weak, it cannot perform at its highest level. And you may not know this because you may not have experienced this yet, but even when you heal that, if you do not heal that properly, it will continue to be a weakness in you. It will continue to be a weak point. But when you heal the right way, you can become as strong, if not stronger than you were before. In men, I see that healing, instead of producing weakness, it actually produces clearer leadership. It produces much stronger and deeper marriages. It produces better emotional control of themselves. It definitely produces stronger faith, and it produces far more confident and grounded men. Healed men don't lose their edge. They gain authority. You see, we can see right through your weakness. We can see right into your wounds. It is obvious to everybody else. It's like the smoker that gets so used to and numb to the fact that they smell like smoke that they never think they smell like smoke. And then they walk into their room and everybody is offended because of how badly they smell like smoke. We can see your wounds even though you don't think so. And I want to tell you that when I look at a man that is not willing to address his wounds, but instead is trying to put them in the past, to mask them and hide from them, and I see that as weakness. I see that as a man that is not willing to step up to the. But there is a solution available to you. Every man lives with this gap between who he is and who God has created him to be. And if you commit to closing that gap as it relates to addressing these wounds, you will become far more of who God created you to be. It starts with being grounded in faith. Stop letting wounds define your identity. Re-anchor in God's truth. You are a child of God, created in his image, created for his purpose to accomplish great things in this world. Live authentic in action. Stop pretending that you're okay. Stop pretending that you have it all together. Align your actions with your convictions and watch as you begin to walk in a manner worthy of the calling that God has on your life. And finally, be purposeful in pursuit. Heal forward. Lead from clarity, not compensation. This is the work that we do inside our Men of Greatness community, inside our coaching programs, inside the one-to-one work that I do with high-level leaders. More often than not, it is wounds that are hindering men's ability to succeed, and they think that they can outwork it, but they can't. If this hits home, your next step is not another video, though you can watch the one that's going to pop up in one of these spots. You don't need more motivation, though you can continue to listen to me and anybody else rant at you for ways in which you can grow. What you need right now is more men around you. I want to invite you to join our free private Men of Greatness community. It is a brotherhood of faith-driven men who are serious about growth, about healing, and about becoming who God created them to be. This is where men stop pretending, start aligning, and walk greatness together. Click the link down below. Join the community and take your next step. You do not have to do this alone, and you were never meant to.